We have among us a Tamil poet, Kutti REVATHI, who is famous for her feminist position and who is connected with different very interesting topics such as traditional medicine, also female activism, and many other things. I invite Kutti REVATHI, which is her literary name, to speak on contemporary Tamil women poetry, 2000 years long struggle towards liberation from untouchability of women.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Здравствуйте. I'm so happy being here and given this chance. And I've been listening to all from, known. And everyone's presentation was so deeper and, I think Russian Tamil family is evolving because of Alexander Dubyanskiy, I think. Let us go to the title, Tatiana. And so it was, it is on contemporary Tamil women poetry, a 2000-year-long struggle towards liberation. I'm able to, frame this title because of the controversies after my writing. I had to revisit why it has been happening for Tamil writing all the while. And I had to do the research and I could come up with certain insights always. So I could frame this title, I believe, when I got this, announcement, thanks to Nikolai as well. And how it was a 2000-year-long struggle towards liberation for Tamil women for writing. Next one. Next slide. And this is a photo of, a photo along with my friend. She's a poet from London. I just dedicate this presentation to her. She's a poet called Kavinyar Amsavalli. And next, I'm going to share few, translations that they've been translated by, all these translators, Lakshmi Armstrong, Kalyan Raman, Akila Netiraj, and Kritika. So next title, next slide. And this is a, short intro about me. I am a Siddha medical practitioner, as Tatiana said. It is an indigenous Tamil medical system. And I've been writing poetry in the pen name Kutti REVATHI. And I'm writing lyrics to the, for the films. And I'm writing screenplays as well. And I've directed 2 films called Siragu and Kodairul. And I've been running a website for, Oscar-winning composer A.R. Rahman. It is called Karunamirtha Sagaram, Abraham Pandita's musical treatise. It is on 3000-year history of Tamil music. Next slide, Tatiana. And my mission here with this presentation is to connect the dots of poetic legacy from Avayar through Elam women poets and to today's Tamil women poets. Based on the gaze women poets put forth and the body politics they come up with, the power of the imagery they presented, they wrote. So this is my central, topic here. Next slide. And here, there are hundreds of Tamil women poets. It has been a very, challenging thing to come up, to share my understanding here. So I have selected only few just to share the theme of the presentation. Although Tamil women poets have written prolifically over the years, I have selected only few poets who are advanced and bearing in mind the language used and the manner of the animation in their poetry, to bring the reader the voice of the women who, I think it looks very small, Tatiana, sorry. And to bring the reader the voice of women who combine in their writing categories such as modernity, Tamil nationalism or ethnicity, female gender, female gaze, and the field of poetry with humanities in general. I have been focusing on, I have some concerns, societal concern, towards these women poets. Modernity has a varied history specific to the literature of each language. Moreover, with respect to Tamil, it should be seen as possessing a modernity that is tied equally, to millennia old tradition. So it is not, when you talk about 2000 years of Tamil literature, I could see from other presentations as well, we could connect from any era to any era, because the main plot is going to be a Tamil linguistic. So here also I'm taking this, as the, as main concern, that I could connect Abayar, how I could connect Abayar with the present contemporary poets. That's what I'm going to do here. Next slide, Tatiana. And I have come up with Abayar because Abayar had multiple personalities. When you mention a woman poet in Tamil, she has to carry multi dimensions, multi personalities, multi roles in the society. She had been a wanderer, she had been an intellectual, and she had high social conscience that was reflected in her poetry, and she was an ethicist also. So how describing Abayar, through her poetry can reflect the contemporary Tamil women poets. That's what I'm going to do here. Next slide. Here, Abayar, she was known for her evolved Tamil poetry. Everyone might have known this, that, many poets had their name as Abayar. The old women poet had been always called Abayar. And here she was known as not known as just a person, a scholar of high regard, a person with great knowledge about herbal medicines and human body, a traveler. She was also the official royal poet of many courts of renowned Tamil kings. That's what very fascinating for me, because she could reach out any king, visit any courtyard, and give her suggestions, advices to the king. She herself had to face numerous challenges to dispense gender related words in Tamil poetry. And I'm here to read two poems by Abayar. Next slide. And one of the poets, male poet, had he wanted to humiliate this poet, so he came up with the poetry, and he says, "Oru kaaladi naalilai pandaladi." So he comes up with this D calling. That means he wants to humiliate her gender thing in the courtyard of the king. So immediately what Abayar does, she retaliate, Areyada sonnai. She adds the male calling in her poetry, and actually that poet comes up with a riddle, the male poet. But Abayar, she replies with an intent of critiquing, and she retaliate with a poetry, with a brilliant poetry, and she says, "Are Yadasana, you meant this herbal leaf." That's how she replied. So it has been this gaze thing, gender gaze thing has been always there, and the strong discrimination had been in practice from Sangamira, and even Abayar had been humiliated, for her presence, for her writing, through the writing by men. Next slide. Next, here is a poetry. That's a beautiful poetry. I can read it in Tamil. Hope you can understand it. And 110,000 பொன்பெறினும் நூற்சேலை நாள்திங்கள் நாளினில் நைந்துவிடும் மாற்றலரை பொன்ற பொறுதடக்கை போர்வேல் அகலங்கா என்றும் கிழியாதென் பாட்டு. I repeat, 110,000 பொன்பெறினும் நூற்சேலை நாள் திங்கள் நாளினில் நைந்து விடும் மாற்றலரை பொன்ற பொறுதடக்கை போர்வேல் அகலங்கா என்றும் கிழியாது என் பாட்டு. When she was gifted, when she was offered a saree by a king, and that king inquired her, how was the saree looking, because the king thinks he had offered her a costly saree, expensive saree. But, she doesn't appreciate, the poet Avaya doesn't appreciate the material things. She says, Porve Lagalanga, O king, Entrum Kiriyaden Paten, my song will never end. It will not die ever. That's how Abhayar uh, gives importance to her intellect, her social conscience all the while. We'll move to the next slide. So here I want to share Iram women poetry. I think hundreds of women poets emerged in the land of Sri Lanka, and they wanted to build a nation of Edom. And in 1980s, women poets, they wrote strong poetry. In Sangam poetry, we could have different genres of poetry, Agam poetry and Puram poetry. But here in Edom, I could see the amalgamation of Agam and Puram, because on one side they had been fighting for the land, the rights, and the other side they had been winning over the patriarchal society. So they had to come up with a powerful poetry, and that force really made Tamil poets who emerged in Tamil Nadu, made them to write poetry, to advent into the floor of poetry, I believe. Next slide. Sorry to make you do this, Tatiana.
No worries, my pleasure.
I don't know what happened. It's really, okay.
Do you want me to make it less to show the full slide, or to make it bigger?
Okay, I will do one thing. I open my, on my laptop, so that I can scroll. You can scroll according to that, I believe. So I'm able to discover that a significant evolution of Tamil women's poetry has occurred through poetry from Eram, I said. As for women poets from Eram, it was through Selvi Sivaramani. Selvi and Sivaramani, they are two different poets, that Eram poetry first made its advent in Tamil Nadu. For very different reasons, both are no more among us. They were not alive even when their poems were first published as books. The final phase of Selvi's life remains as unsolved riddle. Sivaramani killed herself in 1991 at the age of 23. At the time of their appearance in Tamil Nadu, their poems were read as the breath tones of people arrived from alien space. The identity of the Tamil woman from Eram in those days was itself completely new and served as a pointer to the lives of people of Eram in that era. And when I started writing poetry for the first time, or publishing my poetry in the magazines, I found this small, simple collection of poems, Selvi Sivaramani Kavidegal. There I could read their poems. That was an eye-opening and awakening for my writing, and it entirely changed my perspectives on poetry, I should say. She is Selvi, a PEN awardee, a feminist, human rights activist. And, what kind of poetry was? Her poetry were loaded with descriptions about nature's beauty. Her poems represent her political inclinations. Government, family, society, patriarchy have been critically reviewed and presented in her poetry without any compromise. She had been like a fighter through her life, She had used her creative ability to the fullest to express her opinions strongly. Her words sounded as the force that represented her and her society. And okay, suddenly she appeared. Till now, we don't know how, we know where she went. So I'm going to read one of her poems that may give you the silence and the louderness and the powerful words and her intentions maybe in this poem. Irredeemable times. A peaceful time of morning, when the dawn red sky pleases the eye, even a crow's cawing sounds sweet. Breeze floats through the expanse of gardens, long and wide to embrace the body. Peace everywhere, sweetness in everything. Till yesterday, it remained a peaceful time of morning. In the dark hour before dawn, armored vehicles thundered and roared. There were voices of despair. Ayo, Amma. The garden spaces shook and trembled. Seeing khaki uniforms here and there, our men grew frightened. Youths grabbed and herded onto the vehicles, floundered for breath. Mothers weeping and sisters sobbing. Sounded like a calamity brought on by the dawn. The crows cawing. Too sounded jarring. Even gentle sounds induced only fear. Fear everywhere. Silence in everything. The gentle flutter of the breeze evoked no feeling. We forgot to enjoy the red sky of morning. Till yesterday, it was a peaceful time of morning. மீளாத பொழுதுகள். அமைதியான காலை பொழுது. காலை செம்மை கண்களை கவரும். காகம் கரைதலும் இனிமையாய் ஒலிக்கும். நீண்டு பரந்த தோட்ட வெளிகளில் தென்றல் தவழ்ந்து மேனியை தழுவும். எங்கும் அமைதி, எதிலும் இனிமை. நேற்று வரையும் அமைதியான காலை பொழுது. பொழுது புலரா கருமை வேளையில் தடதடத்து உருமின வண்டிகள். அவல குரல்கள், ஐயோ அம்மா. தோட்ட வெளிகள் அதிர்ந்து நடுங்கின. அங்குமிங்கும் காக்கி உடைகளாய் ஆட்கள் வெருண்டனர். அள்ளி ஏற்றிய இளைஞர்கள் மூச்சு திணறினர். தாய்மையின் அழுகையும் தங்கையின் விம்மலும் பொழுது புலர்தலின் அவலமாய் கேட்டன. காகம் கரைவதும் நெருடலாய் ஒலித்தது. மெல்லிய ஒலிகளும் பயத்தையே தூண்டின. எங்கும் அச்சம், எதிலும் அமைதி. தென்றல் சிலிர்ப்பில் உணர்வே இல்லை. காலை செம்மையை ரசிப்பதை மறந்தோம். நேற்று வரையும் அமைதியான காலை பொழுது. So the next one is Sivaramani, Ilam Tamil poet. They were writing at the same time. And Sivaramani burnt all her poetry before committing suicide. The 22 poems only had escaped stand testimony to her and her poetry. The stress of a night during wartime. The stress of a night during wartime will make adults out of our children. Because of every blood-soaked, faceless human corpse that is hurled across the passage of their mornings, lovely as a tiny sparrows, and the smashed ramparts falling on their lively laughter, our little boys have ceased to be little boys. The report of a lone gun on a starlit night, smashing the silence and exploding. During the brief daytime still left, they even forgot how to make chariots from torn apple seeds or to hop when blocked by cells of hopscotch. Later, in herd-like fashion, they learnt it at all to shut the wicket gate well before nightfall, to recognize any unusual barking of the dogs, to refrain from asking questions, and to remain silent when the question had no reply. The stress of a night during wartime will make adults out of our children. யுத்தகால இரவொன்றின் நெருக்குதல். யுத்தகால இரவொன்றின் நெருக்குதல் எங்கள் குழந்தைகளை வளர்ந்தவர்களாக்கிவிடும். ஒரு சிறிய குருவியினுடையதை போன்ற அவர்களின் அழகிய காலையின் பாதைகளின் குறுக்காய் வீசப்படும் ஒவ்வொரு குருதி தோய்ந்த முகமற்ற மனித உடலும் உயிர் நிறைந்த அவர்களின் சிரிப்பின் மீதாய் உடைந்து விழும் மதிர்ச்சுவர்களும் காரணமாய் எங்களுடைய சிறுவர்கள் சிறுவர்களா இல்லாது போயினர். நட்சத்திரம் நிறைந்த இரவில் அதன் அமைதியை உடைத்து வெடித்த ஒரு தனித்த துப்பாக்கி சன்னத்தின் ஓசை எல்லா குழந்தை கதைகளினதும் அர்த்தத்தை இல்லாது ஒழித்தது. எஞ்சிய சிறிய பகலிலோ ஊமங்கொட்டையில் தேர் செய்வதையும் கிளித்தட்டு மறிப்பதையும் அவர்கள் மறந்து போயினர். அதன் பின்னர் படலையை நேரத்துடன் சாத்திக் கொள்ளவும், நாயின் வித்தியாசமான குறைப்பை இனம் காணவும், கேள்வி கேட்காதிருக்கவும், கேட்ட கேள்விக்கு விடையில்லாத போதும் மௌனமாயிருக்கவும் மந்தைகள் போல எல்லாவற்றையும் பழகிக் கொண்டனர். யுத்த கால இரவொன்றின் நெருக்குதலில் எங்கள் குழந்தைகள் வளர்ந்தவராயினர். So this kind of, power through their poetry had been, transferred to Tamil land. So that's how we all emerged, I would say. And there was a group of poets who started writing at the same stage. It means 90s. In the 90s, we were in our 20s, and till then there was no kind of this kind of there was no uh, uh, powerful women expressions there in the poetry platform, and men were writing till then. So it became a big controversy because we came up with strong body politics through modern imageries and coinages. I wrote along with Sugirdarani, Salma, and Malati Maitri. We were the four. The controversies were like this. We have to be burnt in the middle of the city. Our books have to be burnt in the middle of the city. And but how I want to interpret, or I want to come up with my own insights, why we emerged like this, why we had to write these kinds of poetry, why we had to address these things in our poetry. So it was like a long history, but I will wind up, with a short notes, I believe. And these were the two books, published immediately after the controversies. And Lakshmi Homestrom, who is no more, she translated our poetry, and it was kind of, book with selected poems. And I want to read here my poetry that brought, hot and big controversy. Breasts. Breasts are bubbles rising from marshlands. As they gently swelled and blossomed at due season, at time's edge, I watched over them in amazement. Never speaking to anyone else, they are with me always, singing of quiet sorrow, of love, of ecstasy. I think a part of is missing. I'm going to, I will read it in Tamil. முலைகள். முலைகள் சதுப்பு நில குமிழிகள். பருவத்தின் வரப்புகளில் மெல்ல அவை பொங்கி மலர்வதை அதிசயித்து காத்தேன். எவரோடு மேதும் பேசாமல் என்னோடே எப்போதும் பாடுகின்றன. விம்மலை, காதலை, போதையை. மாறிடும் பருவங்களின் நாற்றங்கால்களில் கிளர்ச்சியூட்ட அவை மறந்ததில்லை. தவத்தில் திமிரிய பாவனையையும் காமச்சுண்டுதலில் இசையின் ஓர்மையையும் கொண்டெழுகின்றன. ஆலிங்கன பிழிதலில் அன்பையும் சிசு கண்ட அதிர்வில் குருதியின் பாலையும் சாரெடுக்கின்றன. ஒரு நிறைவேறாத காதலில் துடைத்தகற்ற முடியாத இரு கண்ணீர் துளிகளாய் தேங்கி தழும்புகின்றன. Here I come to the central point of our presentation. So a 2000-year long struggle towards liberation. What I mean by that title? My first point is, how did modern women poetry emerge in Tamil in the 1980s It was lit by the authentic Tamil poems that emerged from Elam. In the 90s, modern Tamil women poetry blasted from Tamil Nadu with force. So it doesn't happen all of a sudden. I think it has been culminating, churning, brainstorming in the land of Elam, and that force of language and poetry had been handed over to us through their poetry. Though those poets killed themselves, though those poets burnt their poetry. The next point is Tamil nationalism, physical and biological exploitation of women, genocide by the army had been the core of poets from Tamil era. Whereas love, marriage, patriarchy, and their impacts on a woman's body, and how all these suppress women, politics based on gender, etc., were the subjects that were part of Tamil poetry from Tamil Nadu. So there had been slight differences in the subjects poets handled in their poetry, addressed in their poetry. And my next point is these were also influenced by the ideologies of Dr. Ambedkar towards people who were oppressed and suppressed all over India. There was an emergence, in 90s across India by the doctrines of Dr. Ambedkar, how, we have to own the land and the language to get rid of our, oppression and the suppressions. So it is like a wave across the India. You could see in Maharashtra and in the north and in northeast. At the same time, the literary wave was rising up. At the same time, the first generation of women writers started writing, their narratives, their poetry, and everything. And my next point is poetry itself has been a tool for liberation of the society. Those who ever wanted liberation from their ecosystem, from their environment, from their society, they opted for poetry. It is inevitable to recall the contributions of Abhay here. And next thing is, for over 2000 years, women had been deprived of using language as a tool in India. India has been called a darkest continent in these 2 years because the first generation poets post-independence use language as their tongue and fingers, expressing their deepest thoughts and intellect through poetry. After Abhay and some fewer and far-spaced poets, 2000 seems to be the era when women poetry had reached considerable numbers. Women of this era have the advantage of using language as a tool as soon as they wish to express. You might have, read up Andal and Karekal Ammayar, but here and there only few women poets were there, and many Avayas were there. Many poets were called Avayar, but hundreds of poets emerged only, in the last millennia. Till then, caste-based untouchability, religion-based untouchability, gender-based oppression, extra had prevailed in India, and India had been always called a dark continent. It was truly in the 2000s that the light of language lit the community as a whole. The centenary celebration of Dr. Ambedkar had opened portals of linguistic expressions of suppression and oppression as work of literature throughout the country, as I mentioned earlier. And one more point I'm here to mention is, till then, the classification of Tamil land as Kurinji, Mullai, Marudam, Neidal, Palai had been described as, geographical classifications, which were then metaphorically connected to a woman's body. This theory of Tinai, has been described by Tamil scholars, our ancient scholars, that any kind of new Tinai can be born. And one Tinai can become another Tinai. That's how this Palai was born. So like that, I think woman's body had been a Tinai in the poetry. It has been presented as Tinai in the contemporary modern poetry. Till then, the practice of untouchability and the act of oppression, which were based on physiological milestones of a woman's body, such as puberty, conception, childbirth, which were considered events during which a woman is impure, making her doubt her own self-worth as a human being belonging to this gender, has never been addressed in poetry or work of literature. And one more point here I want to mention is, till then, the main point of controversy against women poetry was women should not address their body in their writing, because till then men had been writing the women's body in their fiction poetry. Women had been men had been fabricating the women's bodies in their writing. So when women start themselves to proclaim, it had become a big shock to the society, I believe. Here I have the second part of breast, and I hope I can read it and finish this presentation. Breasts. Breasts are bubbles rising from marshlands. As they gently swelled and blossomed at due season at time's edge, I watched over them in amazement. Never speaking to anyone else, they are with me always, singing of quiet sorrow, of love, of ecstasy. They have never forgotten to enthuse the seed beds of all my changing seasons. At times of penance, they struggle and strain. And at the thrust and pull of lust, like the proud ascent of music, they stand erect. From the press of an embrace, they distill love. From the shock of childbirth, milk flowing from blood. Like two teardrops, which cannot be wiped away when love is thwarted, they fill and they overflow. I'm here to thank you everyone, and it has been a chance to share my ideas here, and you have offered your valuable time, especially to the special memory of Alexander Dubyansky, and to the organizing committee of Fourth Indological Conference, to the Institute of Oriental and Classical Studies, and to Dr. Tatiana, and to Nikolai, and to the Russian House Chennai, because it is like Russians and Russia has been becoming my, second family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before I ask our audience for some questions, I would like to ask you, maybe could you say a bit more about that book burning episode you were referring to?
Say it again. Sorry, your voice was very,
Yeah,
feeble.
my mic was away. Could you say a bit more about that book burning episode you mentioned?
Okay. That was a big episode that was happening for 3 years continuously. As we publish our poetry books, and male writers came forward and said that all of our books should be burnt in the Mount Road, that is the central road of Chennai. They shouldn't be read by any of the readers from the society. And every single male writer, they got together and they were against this women poetry. They were protesting, saying that all these books should be burnt. All women poets' books should be burnt. And here I want to quote something. Sigmund Freud once said, people those days they used to burn the writers themselves. Now they have evolved to the level of burning the books only.
Yeah, very sad episode. Do we have any questions or any notes someone would like to? Nicola?
Yes, if I may. Yeah. Revathy, thank you very much for your presentation. I was very anticipating it, because also for the reason that I think it is very important to talk about Tamil literature as an ongoing project, not as just something classical, which is just well, ancient Tamils used to do poetry, but nothing else, like nothing in the contemporary world, which I really believe is a very wrong impression and very wrong attitude. And I wanted to thank you very much, and also to announce that hopefully pretty soon Russian readers will be able to read Kutti REVATHI's poems in Russian translations, because there is an ongoing project which we undertook with Lisa Kuzina, who is also present here today, and a well-known poet, Russian poet, Kirill Korchagin. We have already published some translations of Pramil, and Lisa and Kirill will be presenting on those translations tomorrow. And hopefully, Kutti REVATHI's translations will be published just in the next issue of the same journal. But I also wanted to ask a question. Thanks for connecting this classical concepts of Tine, this relations between the body and the landscape. Thank you very much. But when you mentioned that you also take interest in the Siddha medicine, I thought that there could be some connection between the subversive aspects of poetry that you mentioned and I mean, for me, the Tamil Siddha poetry is probably the most subversive poetry in the medieval period. Do you feel any connection in your attitude to poetry, to the attitudes and to usage of poetry as a subversive tool in the Siddha tradition?
What tradition? Tradition? Sorry?
Sitar, Tamil Sitar, Padinette
Tamil
Sitar
singer.
tradition.
Oh my, okay. Thank you so much, Nikolai. And I'm here, because of you as well. And see, look at my face, how I am smiling today, because, our poetry goes to, Russian language. So happy, and thanks for that. And I became little restless because I couldn't present from my laptop. I don't know what happened. Sorry for this. And I hope I had shared all my insights that I wish to share with you all. Thanks for your patience and understanding, dear, friends. And with Sitar tradition only, I became a poet, Nikolai, because I always thought myself as a Tamil Sitar. When I studied Siddha medicine it was for 5.5 years. I always thought myself as a pen sitter, a woman sitter. I never thought I would become a writer or poet, though I was writing during my childhood days. But the thing is, the terminologies that had been used by siddhas for the body, for the spirituality, for the living, that had become a part of my writing always, I think. That had added the strength to the vocabulary I have been using for, voicing my, um, inner side. So I think it had played a major role for writing my poetry. Thanks for coming up with this question, because still it has been adding strength and intellect and insight to my writing, I believe. I strongly believe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let us discuss this sometime.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in this because
Very much. It's a very insightful new side of Tamil poetry for me, new side of Tamil poetry for me, certainly. One of Nikolai's colleagues was doing research on Selma, actually, but I don't know if she ever came up with an article. It could be good maybe to put both, since you also mentioned Selma's poetry.
Okay.
I actually had a pleasure of meeting Selma on Jaipur Literary Festival. She was one of, at that time it was 2007, and she was one of very few non-Hindi speaking and mainly non-English speaking literary personalities in India who was there. And it was nice to have her.
Congratulations.
So we have already some experience. So I'm also looking forward eagerly to your translations.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have more questions from the audience? Then
Actually, I attended every single presentation. I was so amazed. They
amazed,
were
yeah.
yeah, it was
Thank
wonderful.
you. All we had a very interesting combination of scholarly work and poetic presentations, starting from ancient times to very modern things. We had linguistic topics, and I just have to thank everyone for being here today. It was a long time. We need some break at this moment. So here we conclude this English language session of this conference. And Vanakkam. And Maria here sends her greetings to
நன்றி
Maria.
வணக்கம்
Great.
வணக்கம் வணக்கம்
Okay.
மிக்க நன்றி.
Mika Nandri says Maria.
அனைவருக்கும் ரொம்ப நன்றி
Okay, good. So see you at other occasions.
Sure.
Ciao.
Till then, take care. Till
Till
then,
then,
take
yeah, thank you.
Bye.